The infantry of the British Army, part of the structure of the British Army, comprises 47 infantry battalions, from 19 regiments. Of these, 33 battalions are part of the regular army and the remaining 14 are part of the Territorial force. The British Army's infantry forms a highly flexible organization, taking on a variety of roles, including armoured, mechanised, air assault and light. Recruitment and training. Recruitment. Traditionally, regiments that form the combat arms of the British Army recruit from specific areas of the country. Infantry regiments had been assigned specific areas from which they would recruit from by the mid-18th century. These were formalized under the Cardwell reforms that began in the 1860s. Under this scheme, single battalion infantry regiments were amalgamated into 2 battalion regiments, then assigned to a depot and associated recruiting area. The recruiting area would then become part of the regiment's title. It was this that gave rise to the concept of the county regiment, with the local infantry regiment becoming part of the fabric of its local area. Over time, regiments have been amalgamated further, which has led to recruiting areas of individual regiments increasing in size. Often, these amalgamations have been between regiments whose recruiting areas border each other. However, there have been occasions where regiments of a similar type, but from widely different areas, have been amalgamated. 2 modern examples have been the Royal Regiment of Fusiliers and the Light Infantry. Since September 2007, when the most recent reforms were completed, the infantry has consisted of 18 separate regiments. The 5 regiments of Foot Guards recruit from the respective home nations. Scotland, Ireland and Wales each have a single regiment of line infantry from which they recruit, while England has 7 line infantry and rifles regiments. The Parachute Regiment recruits nationally, while the Royal Gurkha Rifles recruits most of its serving personnel from Nepal, and the Royal Gibraltar Regiment recruits from the UK and Commonwealth nations. Before the Second World War, infantry recruits were required to be at least 5 feet 2 inches tall. They initially enlisted for 7 years with the colours and a further 5 years with the reserve. They trained at their own regimental depot. Training. Unlike the other trades in the Army, which have separate units for basic training and specialized training, new recruits into the infantry undergo a single course at the Infantry Training Center Catterick. This course, called the Combat Infantryman's Course, lasts 26 weeks as standard and teaches recruits both the basics of soldiering and the specifics of soldiering in the infantry. On completion of the CIC, the newly qualified infantry soldier will then be posted to his battalion. For some infantry units, the CIC is longer due to specific additional requirements for individual regiments. The Foot Guards CIC has an additional 2-week enhanced drill course. The Parachute Regiment CIC has an additional 2-week pre-parachute selection course. The Brigade of Gurkhas CIC combines the common military syllabus with the CIC, together with courses on British culture and the English language. The Gurkha CIC lasts 37 weeks. New officers conduct the Phase 1 training at the Royal Military Academy Sandhurst. Phase 2 training for officers, which is encompassed by the Platoon Commander's Battle Course, is run at the Infantry Battle School at Brecon in Wales. It is here that leadership and tactics are taught to new platoon commanders. New NCOs and warrant officers are also sent on courses at Brecon when they come up for promotion. This encompasses Phase 3 training. Phase 3 training is also undertaken at the Support Weapons School at Warminster, where new officers, NCOs and soldiers are trained in the use of support weapons and in communications. Territorial infantrymen undertake preliminary training at regional training centres prior to attending a 2-week CIC at Catterick. Headquarters Infantry. Headquarters Infantry, which is located at the Land Warfare Center on Umber Road in Warminster, is responsible for recruiting, manning and training policy of the infantry. Divisions of infantry. The majority of the infantry in the British Army is divided for administrative purposes into 5 divisions. These are not the same as the ready and regenerative divisions, but are based on either the geographical recruiting areas of the regiments, or the type of regiments. The Guards Division has the 5 regiments of Foot Guards. The Scottish Division has the remaining infantry regiment from Scotland. The King's Division has the regiments from the north of England. The Prince of Wales's division has the regiments from the west of England, Wales and Ireland. The Queen's Division has the regiments from the east of England and the remaining regiment of Fusiliers. A further division, the Light Division, grouped together the regiments of light infantry and rifles until they were amalgamated into a single regiment in 2007. Regular Army. There are further infantry units in the Army that are not grouped in the various divisions. The Parachute Regiment, the Royal Gurkha Rifles, the Rifles, Army Reserves 52nd Lowland, 6th Battalion, the Royal Regiment of Scotland, 51st Highland, 7th Battalion, the Royal Regiment of Scotland, 3rd Battalion, the Princess of Wales's Royal Regiment, the London Regiment, 4th Battalion, the Duke of Lancaster's Regiment, 5th Battalion, the Royal Regiment of Fusiliers, 3rd Battalion, the Royal Anglian Regiment, 4th Battalion, the Yorkshire Regiment, 4th Battalion, the Mercian Regiment, 3rd Battalion, the Royal Welsh, 2nd Battalion, the Royal Irish Regiment, 83rd, 87th and Amp Ulster Defence Regiment, 4th Battalion, the Parachute Regiment, 6th Battalion, the Rifles, 7th Battalion, the Rifles. Types of infantry. Operations within the British Army. There are 4 main types of infantry. Armoured infantry. Armoured infantry are equipped with the Warrior armoured personnel carrier, a tracked vehicle that can deploy over all terrain. Mechanised infantry. Mechanised infantry are equipped with the Bulldog tracked vehicle. Since the mid-2000s, they have been using vehicles like Mastiff PPV. Light infantry. Light infantry are not equipped with armoured vehicles. Such units may specialise in jungle and or Arctic warfare. Air assault infantry. Air assault infantry are trained to be deployed using helicopters, parachute or aircraft. Traditions. The infantry is traditionally divided into 3 types. Foot Guards. Foot Guards are those infantry regiments that were formed specifically to provide close guard to the king. Soldiers in the Guards were usually the best trained and equipped members of the infantry. However, they would fight in the same way as ordinary regiments. Line infantry. Line infantry refers to those regiments that historically fought in linear formations, unlike light troops, who fought in loose order. Despite this, line infantry are named so because they made up the line of battle, and not because they deployed in lines. The 17th and 18th centuries saw expansion of the roles of the infantry. To this end, the companies stationed on each flank of an infantry battalion were specialist units, with a company of light infantry trained as skirmishers to operate independently on the battlefield, and a company of grenadiers, who were usually the biggest and strongest men in the battalion, operating as the lead assault troops. Rifles. In the late 18th century, the development of the Baker rifle led to the commissioning by the British Army of regiments specially trained to use the new weapon. These regiments would operate as skirmishers and sharpshooters on the edges of the field of battle. These regiments wore green rather than red tunics to enable them to blend in more with the environment, thus giving them the nickname Green Jackets. The tactical distinctions between infantry regiments disappeared in the late 19th century, but remain in tradition. In the order of precedence, the 5 regiments of foot guards are ranked above the 10 regiments of traditional line infantry, who are ranked above the 2 remaining regiments of rifles. Deployments. Postings due to be completed in 2009. The 52 Infantry Brigade has transferred from 2nd Division to 3 Division. 4 Mechanized Brigade has transferred to Catterick Garrison. HQ 19 Light Brigade, plus 2 of its infantry battalions, will transfer to Northern Ireland. The Land Warfare Centre Demonstration Battalion role will rotate between 3 Yorks at Warminster and 1 RF and 2 Welsh at Tidworth. Foot Guards battalions on public duties in London, Windsor will rotate with light role battalions in Aldershot every 2 to 3 years. 5 Scots, 1 Irish and 2 RGR will rotate between 16 Air Assault Brigade and 52 Infantry Brigade. Battalions in London District, British Forces Cyprus and 52 Infantry Brigade will rotate between each other every 2 to 3 years. 11 Light Brigade will be formed specifically to command the Operation Herrick deployment between October 2009 and April 2010. This will assume responsibility for all force elements assigned to it, including 4 infantry battalions. 11 Brigade will disband in April 2010, with its constituent units returning to their parent formations. UK Battalions England Aldershot 2x Light Infantry Battalions, Bulford 2x Mechanised Infantry Battalion, Canterbury Air Assault Battalion, Catterick Armoured Infantry Battalion, Mechanised Infantry Battalion, Light Infantry Battalion, Chester Light Infantry Battalion, Colchester 2x Air Assault Battalions, London 2x Light Infantry Battalions, Shorncliffe Light Infantry Battalion, Turnhill Air Assault Battalion, Tidworth Armoured Infantry Battalion, Demonstration Infantry Battalion, Warminster Armoured Infantry Battalion, Wheaton Light Infantry Battalion, Windsor Light Infantry Battalion, Scotland Edinburgh 3x Light Infantry Battalions, Inverness Light Infantry Battalion, Wales Chepstow Light Infantry Battalion, Northern Ireland Ballykinler Light Infantry Battalion, Holywood Light Infantry Battalion. Overseas battalions. There are 4 locations that have a permanent British infantry presence: Germany, Cyprus and Brunei are home to battalions from the regular army, while Gibraltar has its own permanent home defence battalion. Other postings are usually roulement postings from either the UK, Germany or Cyprus. Brunei Syria Light Infantry Battalion, Cyprus Deucalion Light Infantry Battalion, Episcopi Light Infantry Battalion, Germany Cell Light Infantry Battalion, Fallingbostel 2x Armoured Infantry Battalion, Munster Light Infantry Battalion, Paderborn 2x Armoured Infantry Battalions, Gibraltar Light Infantry Battalion. Divisions and brigades. The British Army is administered through HQ Land Command, which has responsibility for the majority of Army units. Most of these are organised into 5 divisions, each of which has a number of brigades under its command. Battalions are attached permanently to formations: 1st Mechanised Brigade, 1st Battalion, Welsh Guards, 1st Battalion, the Royal Anglian Regiment, 3rd Battalion, the Yorkshire Regiment, 4th Battalion, the Rifles, 3rd Commando Brigade, 1st Battalion, the Rifles, 4th Mechanised Brigade, 1st Battalion, Scots Guards, 1st Battalion, the Duke of Lancaster's Regiment, 1st Battalion, the Mercian Regiment, 7th Armoured Brigade, the Highlanders, 4th Battalion, the Royal Regiment of Scotland, 2nd Battalion, the Royal Regiment of Fusiliers, 3rd Battalion, the Mercian Regiment, 12th Mechanized Brigade 1st Battalion, Coldstream Guards 2nd Battalion, the Royal Welsh, 16 Air Assault Brigade the Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders, 5th Battalion the Royal Regiment of Scotland, 1st Battalion, the Royal Irish Regiment, 83rd, 87th and Ulster Defence Regiment, 2nd Battalion, the Parachute Regiment, 3rd Battalion, the Parachute Regiment, 19th Light Brigade the Royal Scots Borderers, 1st Battalion the Royal Regiment of Scotland, the Black Watch, 3rd Battalion the Royal Regiment of Scotland, 2nd Battalion, the Mercian Regiment, 2nd Battalion, the Rifles, 20th Armoured Brigade 1st Battalion, the Princess of Wales's Royal Regiment, 1st Battalion, the Yorkshire Regiment, 5th Battalion, the Rifles, 52 Infantry Brigade the Royal Highland Fusiliers, 2nd Battalion the Royal Regiment of Scotland, 2nd Battalion, the Yorkshire Regiment, 1st Battalion, the Royal Welsh 1st Battalion, the Royal Gurkha Rifles, 3rd Battalion, the Rifles, Land Warfare Centre 1st Battalion, the Royal Regiment of Fusiliers, British Forces Cyprus 2nd Battalion, the Royal Anglian Regiment, 2nd Battalion, the Duke of Lancaster's Regiment, London District 1st Battalion, Grenadier Guards 1st Battalion, Irish Guards, 2nd Battalion, the Princess of Wales's Royal Regiment, Brunei 2nd Battalion, the Royal Gurkha Rifles. Notes: reorganization. Delivering security in a changing world. Treasury asked for major cuts in the strength of the infantry in 2003, with at least 10 battalions to be disbanded. This proved so unacceptable that, in November 2003, there was consideration to instead reducing each battalion to 2 rifle companies. By March 2004, ECAB had shown that the maximum number of battalions it was possible to cut was 4. This was finally officially announced as part of the Army reorganization. The arms plot system would be abolished. Instead, individual battalions would be given fixed roles, to ensure that officers and men could continue to gain the variety of skills that the arms plot provided. The restructuring would also see a series of amalgamations of the remaining single battalion infantry regiments into large regiments. In addition, the regular army will lose 4 battalions. The roles are divided up as follows: Armoured Infantry 8 battalions, Mechanized Infantry 3 battalions, Light Role Infantry 20 battalions, Air Assault Infantry 4 battalions, Commando Infantry 1 battalion, Territorial Army Infantry 14 battalions. The reorganization was a hybrid of the systems used to organize the regular infantry in Australia and Canada. Australia's regular infantry encompasses 8 battalions in a single large regiment, the Royal Australian Regiment. This system is the one undertaken by the Scottish Division and the Light Division. Canada's regular infantry has 3 regiments, each of 3 battalions, which is how the King's Division and the Prince of Wales's Division will be restructured. In addition to the Army's infantry battalions, there are 3 further battalion-sized commando infantry units, which are part of the Royal Marines, as well as 8 field squadrons of the RAF Regiment, who have responsibility for the ground defense of air assets and are under the control of the Royal Air Force. The majority of infantry battalions are attached to one of the deployable brigades. However, there are a number of formations that exist to administer those infantry battalions that are not assigned to deployable brigades, but are instead available for independent deployment en roulement tours. Guards Division. Each battalion in the 5 single battalion regiments of the Guards Division has a fixed role: Armoured Infantry 1, Light Role, Public Duties 4. 2 battalions will be assigned as General Light Role battalions, with the other 2 assigned to public duties. These battalions will periodically rotate roles and postings. Scottish Division. The 6 battalions of the Scottish Division have amalgamated into a single 5-battalion regiment to be called the Royal Regiment of Scotland. Armoured Infantry 1, Light Royal 3, Air Assault Light Royal 1. King's Division. The 6 battalions of the King's Division have amalgamated into 2 regiments. Duke of Lancaster's Regiment. This is a 2-battalion regiment, formed from the amalgamation of the King's Own Royal Border Regiment, King's Regiment and Queen's Lancashire Regiment. Light Royal 1, Yorkshire Regiment. This is a 3-battalion regiment formed from the amalgamation of the Green Howards, Prince of Wales's Own Regiment of Yorkshire and Duke of Wellington's Regiment. Light Royal 2, Prince of Wales's Division. The original 7 battalions of the Prince of Wales's Division have been reduced to 5 with the transfer of the Devonshire and Dorset Regiment, and the Royal Gloucestershire, Berkshire and Wiltshire Regiment to the Light Division. The 5 remaining battalions will amalgamate into 2 regiments. Royal Welsh. This is a 2-battalion regiment formed from the amalgamation of the Royal Welsh Fusiliers and the Royal Regiment of Wales. Light Royal 1, Mercian Regiment. This is a 3-battalion regiment formed from the amalgamation of the 22nd Regiment, Worcestershire and Sherwood Foresters Regiment and Staffordshire Regiment. Light Royal 2, Queen's Division. The 3 existing large regiments of the Queen's Division remain unaffected by the restructuring. Light Royal 1, Light Royal 1, Light Royal 1, Light Division. The 4 current battalions of the Light Division in 2 regiments were augmented by 2 battalions from the Prince of Wales's Division in 2005. These 2 were amalgamated into a single battalion and then amalgamated with light infantry and the Royal Green Jackets to form a new 5-battalion regiment, called the Rifles. On its formation, the Light Division was abolished. Armoured Infantry 1, Light Royal 2, Mechanised Infantry 1, Commando 1, Other Infantry Regiments. Royal Irish Regiment. The single regular battalion of the Royal Irish Regiment is unamalgamated to retain an infantry footprint in Northern Ireland. Air Assault Light Royal 1. Royal Gurkha Rifles. The Royal Gurkha Rifles is unaffected by the restructuring. However, the UK-based battalion has been integrated more fully with the rest of the infantry and trained in the Air Assault role. Air Assault Light Royal 1. Light Royal 1. Parachute Regiment. 1 battalion of the Parachute Regiment is the core of the Special Forces Support Battalion, no longer part of the infantry order of battle. The other 2 operate in the airborne role. Airborne Light Royal 2. Territorial Army. With the exception of the Royal Gurkha Rifles, every line infantry regiment has at least 1 TAR battalion. The Guards Division has the London Regiment as an affiliated TAR battalion. Strategic Defence and Security Review. Army 2020. Following the 2010 general election, the new government instituted a new defence review. The ultimate conclusion of this process was to reduce the size of the British Army from approximately 102,000 to approximately 82,000 by 2020. The detail of the process was subsequently announced as Army 2020 in July 2012. As part of this, the infantry was reduced in size from 36 regular battalions to 31. Of the 5 to be withdrawn, 2 were armoured infantry units, 2 general light infantry and 1 a specialist air assault infantry battalion. The withdrawal of 2 armoured infantry battalions is to bring this into line with the planned future operational structure, intended to see 3 armoured infantry brigades, each with a pair of infantry battalions, forming the core of the Army's reaction forces. These 2 battalions, along with the 2 light infantry battalions, will be disbanded and the personnel distributed among the remaining battalions of each regiment. The Air Assault Battalion will be reduced to company strength, with the intention that it is assigned as a permanent public duties unit in Scotland. The affected regiments were Royal Regiment of Scotland, the Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders; 5th Battalion, the Royal Regiment of Scotland, reduced to an incremental company and assigned to public duties in Scotland; Royal Regiment of Fusiliers, 2nd Battalion, the Royal Regiment of Fusiliers, disbanded and personnel redistributed to 1st Battalion; Yorkshire Regiment, 2nd Battalion, the Yorkshire Regiment, disbanded and personnel redistributed to 1st and 3rd Battalions. 3 Yorks will eventually be renamed as 1 Yorks. 1 Yorks will eventually be renumbered as 2 Yorks. Mercian Regiment, 3rd Battalion, the Mercian Regiment, disbanded and personnel redistributed to 1st and 2nd Battalions. Royal Welsh 2nd Battalion, the Royal Welsh, disbanded and personnel redistributed to 1st Battalion. In addition, the Royal Irish Regiment, 83rd, 87th and Ulster Defence Regiment will be transferred to the administration of the Prince of Wales's division. As a consequence, the make-up of the regular infantry units once the changes have been made will be Armoured Infantry 1st Battalion, the Royal Regiment of Fusiliers, 1st Battalion, the Mercian Regiment, 1st Battalion, the Royal Welsh, 1st Battalion, the Yorkshire Regiment, 1st Battalion, the Princess of Wales Royal Regiment, 5th Battalion, the Rifles, Heavy Protected Mobility Infantry 4th Battalion, the Rifles, 1st Battalion Scots Guards, 4th Battalion, the Royal Regiment of Scotland, Air Assault Infantry 2nd Battalion, the Parachute Regiment, 3rd Battalion, the Parachute Regiment, 2nd Battalion, the Royal Gurkha Rifles, Light Protected Mobility Infantry 2nd Battalion, the Yorkshire Regiment, 2nd Battalion, the Royal Anglian Regiment, 1st Battalion, the Royal Irish Regiment, 83rd, 87th and Ulster Defence Regiment, 1st Battalion Welsh Guards, 3rd Battalion, the Royal Regiment of Scotland, 3rd Battalion, the Rifles, Light Roll Infantry 1st Battalion, the Royal Anglian Regiment, 1st Battalion, Grenadier Guards, 1st Battalion, the Royal Regiment of Scotland Infantry Brigade, 2nd Battalion, the Rifles Infantry Brigade, 2nd Battalion, the Mercian Regiment, 2nd Battalion, the Duke of Lancaster's Regiment, 2nd Battalion, the Royal Regiment of Scotland, 1st Battalion, the Rifles. Public Duties 1st Battalion, Coldstream Guards, 1st Battalion, Irish Guards, 3 Ex-Guards Incremental Companies Nijmegen Koi, Grenadier Guards No. 7 Koi, Coldstream Guards F Company, Scots Guards, 1 Ex-Line Infantry Incremental Company Balaclava Koi, Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders, 5th Battalion Royal Regiment of Scotland, Brunei Light Roll Infantry 1st Battalion, the Royal Gurkha Rifles, Cyprus 1st Battalion, the Duke of Lancaster's Regiment, 2nd Battalion, the Princess of Wales Royal Regiment. In addition, the 1st Battalion, the Parachute Regiment remains as the core of the Special Forces Support Group. The Guards Division regiments, Foot Guards, will rotate amongst the roles of the Mastiff Battalion in 12th Armoured Infantry Brigade and the Light Protected Mobility Battalion in 11th Infantry Brigade. The 2 battalions in British Forces Cyprus will rotate as follows: 1 Lancashire, 2 Lancashire, 2 Yorks and 2 PWR, 1 R Anglian, 2 R Anglian. The Territorial Army will be renamed as the Army Reserve. The following infantry battalions will remain under Army 2020: Air Assault Infantry 4th Battalion, the Parachute Regiment, Light Roll Infantry 6th Battalion, Royal Regiment of Scotland, 7th Battalion, Royal Regiment of Scotland, 3rd Battalion, Princess of Wales Royal Regiment, 4th Battalion, Duke of Lancaster's Regiment. 5th Battalion, Royal Regiment of Fusiliers. 3rd Battalion, Royal Anglian Regiment. 4th Battalion, Yorkshire Regiment. 4th Battalion, the Mercian Regiment. 3rd Battalion, the Royal Welsh. 2nd Battalion, the Royal Irish Regiment. 7th Battalion, the Rifles. The London Regiment.